Hello and welcome to Howard's Cave of Wonder. I'm Chris, aka Howard Blues, welcoming you back here to my cave. And it seems like it's been so long since I've been down here. Life just gets busy as it is. And if you're new to this channel, this is my kind of every other week vlog about the hobby and what I'm doing and things that interest me within the hobby and all of that. And it's something to do while I sit here and paint on a project, get to talk to you, and maybe chat about other aspects of the hobby. In this one, I am going to be continuing a project I started in the last real vlog video. There was a Kickstarter review in between these, but it's a project that I'm really excited about. I'm painting, because it's the 50th anniversary of Jaws, I'm painting my own version of Bruce. That's right. I have a WizKids model of a shark, and doing up a little bit of a paint job. I didn't get real far in the last one because I had to pin it so I could use this particular paint holder, and yeah, it's looking pretty good. I got kind of a really rough base coat, but one of the things that I said in that video was that one of the big problems I have with WizKids models is when you buy them, you're always going to see kind of a 3D computer rendering of it. They don't tend to show the final product in that. And so a lot of times when you get these, even though the 3D model looks great, when you get the actual model and you start kind of dissecting it, details get a little soft. And one of the best examples is around his jawline. Let me actually use a brush as a pointer, kind of right in here. You can kind of see where here clearly this is Jaws right up here, but where does that end and kind of mouth begin? There's no real great delineating line there, so I kind of penciled this in, but looking back at it, I think I gotta move a little bit further this way and come down a little bit. I think I went a little too close to the vest on it. So there's some of that. Also, I know in the last video I talked a lot about how the fact that I'm painting a shark, it's an organic life form, and therefore it's okay to have things be a little splotchy because it's organic. This is a bit too splotchy. I don't know how well it's turning up on the camera. But it's very, you can see the paint strokes and all of that. So that needs a hit. The gray is not as bad, but there are definitely places like the crevice here of the fin, right in here, where I clearly didn't put down any paint and such. So I want to get this a little bit better, so that I can then start highlighting this bad boy up. I also did not paint the inside of the mouth, and part of that was I didn't know what color really that was. I knew I was going to have to look at a reference photo. I didn't want to stop. But it should be about this same kind of pinkish as the Jaws. So I need to slather down some pink. So we got some work to do to kind of hit the base coat, get the base coat going, and then we'll start doing some shading to get some shading kind of going with it, and then some highlighting, and hopefully, if things go well, this video, we could have it done Bruce. And then that would just leave me to paint his water base. And I have some special paint from Reaper Miniatures that I am hoping to give out to try on this. If you ever see me glance over to the left, I have my computer over here, and I every now and then looking like, hey, how's it looking? So let's have it. So let's get started on Bruce. I think the white might take a few more coats, so I'm going to start with that. And I'm just using from Reaper Miniatures their skeleton bone paint. And I kind of get that in and going. It was ReaperCon this week. This is Labor Day weekend, and so the big event was going on down in Denton, Texas. I have never gone to ReaperCon. It's on my bucket list of things to do, because I think 3 days of hanging out with like-minded people, painting miniatures, playing games, sounds like a real hoot. So it's on the list. One day I will get to make that pilgrimage. I don't know if that's the brush I want to use. I think I want just a bigger, chunkier brush. I'm painting a lot of white here. So we'll switch over to a detailed brush when I get there. But just using a big old chunky brush. And painting this in. So, yeah, painting Bruce, getting back to it. And part of one of the things, I said this in the last video, and if you haven't checked that video out, go do so, because I thought it was a pretty good one. Part of this is I've been re-watching the Jaws movies, and all of them except 4. I haven't got to a low point where I'm like, I have the time that I can waste on 4. This 4 is pretty notoriously bad. This is my least favorite. Well, it's one of my least favorite Jaws movies. I think it would be my least as I sit here and think about it. And part of the reason why is it's the one that has the weirdest plot. I mean, it's the voodoo plot, even though it doesn't get expressed in there. There was a version of the script where the whole plot was that a voodoo witch doctor had it out for the Brody family and had sent this shark to extract revenge and such. But one thing that was kind of interesting, my son, who is far too young for Jaws, he's only 5. It's not really an appropriate movie for a 5-year-old. But we were talking about Jaws, mostly because we were sitting talking about sharks, and that led us into just a conversation about the shark in Jaws. And I told him about the movie, and I was like, "Hey, you're not old enough for this movie by any means." He asked me, of course, when, Dad? When will I be old enough? And I basically had to tell him, I'm like, well, not for many years to come. But I said, and he asked why, and I said, well, because it's a scary movie. It portrays the shark as kind of a big people-eating monster. And we got to talking about the robotic shark that was used for the movie, and how it was named Bruce. And in some of that, I even showed him a picture of the animatronic, and he thought that was kind of cool. So he really got a kick out of like that part. And so someday I know he'll be excited for. Clearly got a little loose hair on my brush because that it spanned out. Okay, white's looking a bit better. I think one more coat on it should be good. Should kind of get us to that point that I want to be. Let's get to some pink. Let's get to some pink. And I got to make a big reach because I have another pink that I kind of want to use. So I'm using a really dark pink on this. I'm using this Monster Maw, which is a really bright. I know my lighting kind of hides it. It's a very bright pink. I'm using that because this is kind of my shade color. I'm wanting this to serve as a shade, and then I'm going to mix in some duller colors to kind of tighten up the Jaws area of it and blend. Because truthfully, looking at it, their Jaws are kind of like a very light shade of pink, if not almost white. Well, at least at the pictures I saw, minus the blood from whatever they last attacked or such. And so I want to improve upon that. And so I'm starting kind of with, as I said, a very strong pink, and hoping that I can then bring it into a relatively normal shark's color. So, starting with this, and we'll kind of leave this in the recesses as we try and highlight. Highlighting a mouth like this is never really all that easy. And truthfully, I'm not worrying about the teeth at this point. If I hit the teeth, I hit the teeth. I will have to come back in probably and touch up the teeth anyway from pink getting on them. So it's okay if a little bit of that happens now. And like I said, kind of in my early thing, I want to kind of fix my jaws a little bit here. Expand it out. This side was the worst of the two, because I clearly need to go up a little bit more in this area. That was too much right there. It's okay. Just did not turn to the shark quite enough. Let's recover that a little bit. Well, skeleton bone. Come back in and just clean up that line a little bit. It wasn't too far off, but I feel better about that. Yeah. Pink's looking good. Do you like how I put this on the holder and then I'm just holding the model? Oh, the things we do. I also got to learn to not keep my paint cloth that I kind of wipe off right there. I keep rubbing up. All right. I'm going to work on just another coat of the gray. And while I'm doing that, let's talk a little bit about what I've been up to on the hobby side. And the truth is, not a whole lot. And part of that reason for that is I do a lot of work for a podcast me and a buddy have, and that sucks up a good chunk of my time. I work on Howard's Cave of Wonder when I don't have anything kind of for the main show. And this week was incredibly busy. My good buddy Kidder, my co-host, had traveled down to Las Vegas and had done so to attend a Star Trek convention down there that he did every year. And in fact, last year, as part of this channel, I actually worked to try and fix a couple of pips that he had, captain's pips, that had demagnetized and broke. You can see that video if you're really interested in me trying to match that. Anyway, he had a good time, but we made a little kind of vlog of his time in Vegas and his travels and attending the con and all of that. And so a lot of my hobby time went into the editing room as I tried to edit and get videos out on a pretty quick order. So surprisingly, not a lot of time was then left for painting. So that happens, and I think that happens to everybody in this hobby. At some point, you just have other commitments that just take away your time to do these things. And a lot of people, I think, get frustrated with that and struggle with it. For myself, I view it as part of life. There's so much I want to do, so much I'd like to do, that I know I'm not going to be able to do it all, and that I'm going to have to do the best that I can to do as much as I can. So There's always kind of that. Cleaning up a few mistakes, which do happen. Let's fix that interesting line one I got right here off his nose. Dang it, Eric. My camera is drifting just ever so slightly, so it's not quite where I like to sit. The joys of tech problems. There we go. Shark is looking pretty good. Picked up a little white somewhere. That's okay. That's in the water area anyway, or the part that'll be underwater. So just hitting these kind of spots again, making sure I kind of have a nice coat. It's looking good. It's looking fairly smooth. Well, we got ourselves good looking shark. I want to kind of just make sure I've hit everywhere on these fins. Kind of using the side of my brush. Again, not worrying too much if I go kind of too far. Again, sharks kind of have an interesting line. Okay. I'm feeling a lot better about the belly. I probably will still give it one more coat just to get decent coverage on it. I'm going to come in. I think the mouth here is dry enough. Just give the inside a little bit more. There's a couple of spots here. So, not a lot. One of the big things, I know I got a little off track. One of the big things I kind of have been watching is I've been watching the kind of near implosion of the Blood Rage Valhalla Game Found campaign. I guess implosion's a little harsh. Like, I won't say that it's not successful, because it met its goal, and you know, the last I checked was somewhere around $700,000 raised. I just don't think it's the major success that they were probably thinking, and I feel bad. I think, well, I would say this: if you had missed out on Blood Rage and you wanted to pick it up and get the expansions, I think you could. Probably at more than what you're going to have paid, or maybe a slight discount from what you could get. So if you have nothing, it's great in that sense. But if you have pieces of it, rebuying is kind of a huge part. They're asking you to repurchase things that you already should have had. I really just don't like the direction they're going with some of it. The last time I checked in, they had just revealed the concept art of Odin, and I'll put that up there. And you compare that with the original Odin from Blood Rage, and it is so different. I very much wonder if they switch some of these out, because I don't know that Adrian Smith is actually on board with the project. I don't think it's actually his art. I think it's other artists trying to reproduce his art in kind of a way, or like in his style. But it's a very different Odin compared to what Adrian Smith did. And it doesn't make sense why you're not keeping up with that. The other thing, just looking at, is the fact that the clan names stay the same. You know, the stag, the bear clan, the serpent clan. It just makes me kind of wonder if, like, they didn't have, you know, the access to that, which is weird because they are doing a reprinting. But yeah, there's enough weirdness about that campaign that I don't feel good about it. And the comments on it are pretty rough. I would say. I think there's a lot of people who they aren't thrilled with it, with how it's going, what's being asked for. And so I I feel like it's a flop, and I'm just kind of okay with not having backed that one. And that said, I haven't seen much. I've been getting a lot of advertisements for Kickstarter games coming up here in September. So there's a lot of stuff that's seeming about to come out. One thing I will say that's getting better, and I at least appreciate it from a couple of companies where I've seen this. I really have gotten annoyed with these companies that start advertising their campaign, like their GameFound campaign, like 2 months or 3 months or 4 months before like the campaign is going to go, and they don't really give you a time frame. They don't say like, hey, join our campaign, it starts September 17th. Well, okay, if you're like me, and I know it doesn't seem, because I have a whole pile of Kickstarter stuff sitting over there. Like I have a budget, but I do try to be very kind of frugal about my expenditures with stuff. And so it's really hard if you are on that budget to make a successful plan for how you're going to spend your funds if you don't know when it's coming out. If you are one of those people who says, hey, okay, I set aside $25 every month, and that might even be a lot, but I'm just using it as a number, $25 a month towards hobby stuff, and if I don't spend it, then I get to carry it over, and so it takes me 4 months to have $100 to buy a $100 Kickstarter game. Okay, if we're going that route, which is hard because I think most Kickstarter games are getting more and more. But say you're doing that, if you don't know when that Kickstarter is landing, you don't know like how to budget your funds. And so I've seen more companies starting to share, hey, like we're launching. There's one, and the game's escaping me, but I've seen a couple of launching September 16th. Like, great. I know when that game is popping up, I can easily look at it and see if I'm interested. That's great. But these ones that are just like, and Valhalla was like this. Here's a picture of Blood Rage Valhalla, the GameFound link, and you click on it, here's a preview page, but it doesn't necessarily tell you what it is. They're very scarce on the details, and they don't give you a date, and so you just kind of, you end up clicking on those so many times. I think it's just a way to drive engagement. It's my theory. Is people click on it like, is this already? Is this a thing? Is it up now? Is it not? It's not now. Not now. Okay. And you see it again, like a couple, like now. Is it now? So, if you're a game company out there and you're hearing this, stop that, please. 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 I'm asking nicely. That annoys me. Okay. Bruce, your mouth is taking forever to dry. I'm kind of waiting for Bruce's mouth to settle down and dry. I did slap a lot of paint in there, so I get it. I had a little overage right here. Let's just clean that up just a tiny bit. So I'm kind of waiting for inside of his mouth to dry. Yeah. So while that's going on, let's see if I can do this next step that I want to do. I want to try this. So I'm going to take, I've been using this Shadowed Stone kind of to be his main color. But now I'm going to take this Crusader blue. It's a very desaturated blue. And I'm going to mix some of that in, like just a drop or two. That was not a well-mixed drop. Let's get that a little bit more of a shake. We'll drop that in. And what I want to do, drop two in. I want to just make this really, really, I want to make a lighter gray, but I want to add just a little bit of a blue tone to it, or a cool tone to it. Because shark skin has texture to it. It's got a sharp texture. And so I want to highlight it up a little bit and put some texture into it. But I want to do it in an interesting way. I wanted to try this. This is a big model. It's a test. I'm taking just some blister foam. I've already ripped off a chunk. And I'm going to just try actually sponge painting some texture onto this model. So I'm just dipping a little bit in. And then on my paper towel over here, dabbing most of it off. I want just the slightest kind of stuff to it. Bring Bruce up. Yeah, I just kind of want to highlight, and so I'm just kind of coming in like on his fins, coming in on his back a little bit, just kind of, again, adding just a tiny bit of texture to it. And my as I said, my hope for this is I just really want to highlight him and give him just a little bit of texture. But he's kind of coming out, and again, just trying to add some interest to it. Now, I will probably also go through and brush highlight texture on, or at least some highlights on in a few places. But I do like the idea of just, as I said, adding a little bit of kind of texture to him. This handle thing is just right in my way. Can I spin you like there? So we'll see. I'm gonna do just a couple of these and just keep making it a bit lighter. But I also want to shift it a little towards the white. Again, adding a little bit of white, desaturating it, trying to just make him feel sharky. So I've added a little bit more blue. I've added a much lighter gray. And if I feel like this is not dark enough, I will add back in a little shadowed stone. And again, this is a light kind of sponging of it. And I am going to then take, and it's going to need something. I have found I do a very similar technique to when I do rust, like I do with this column, where I'm sponging in kind of a color like this, that I touch these things back up. And so one of the things I'll probably come back in and do is glaze in a color, and it'll probably be a blue. He's jumping out of the water. I'm planning to do kind of a very bluish water. So I want to keep the fish on the camera. So I want to be able to come back in and kind of glaze this down a little bit with some blue, which would help tie some of this texture back in, but also make it all fit. But I really do like where this is kind of going with this. Trying not to overdo it. Hit the fins. And except for that spot that I just streaked, which I think will still be okay. I really am liking how this is going. It's, as I said, it's adding just a very nice bit of texture to our Bruce here. Right, camera. So, as I said, it to me, texture is one of those fun things to kind of play around with. I like kind of creating those spots. See, I kind of have a little bit of an end there that is just constantly popping up a little bit. That's okay. That's the stuff that's down the water. And that's a good thing about this model is I have places I can test it. Okay. I don't want to go too crazy with it, but I definitely think we hit some nice points with it. Just kind of making sure I've gone through, hit things like the gills a little bit. Ooh, that's a big smear. We can work on fixing that a little bit. Okay, so there I have a pretty good little mistake that just appeared. Just add a little water on my brush, and I'm just going to come in and just kind of erase it a little bit. So now that I've kind of sponged him a little bit, I'm going to kind of go back. I'm starting with my shadowed stone. A drop of that Crusader blue that I'm using. I'm just going to make a highlight color because there's some places that I want to make sure get highlighted beyond just my little texture technique here. And this time I'm going to go in and I'm going to try, and again, I want to highlight like his dorsal fin, a little bit on his actual his side fins. I don't know the technical term, and his gills. So let's start kind of with the gills. So keeping this fairly light, we're just going to kind of come in along the gill line. Not really trying to go too crazy with this, but as I said, there are some spots where I just want to make sure I have it. Kind of around the eyebrow, a little bit here on the eye. The tip of the nose a little bit. Just again, I'm not trying to erase the texture they just put on. But I want to make sure that we have some highlights on him. Because if I don't put any highlights on him, he's going to look very flat. We don't want that for him. He's got some interesting, like, folds and wrinkles in here. And so I want to just, again, kind of highlight some of those. And I'm just kind of using my own kind of light in here to kind of help me with identifying kind of where some of those folds and such are. I'm keeping my paint really thin so that all of that sponge work I did hopefully will continue to shine through in some of it. So Jaws, it's coming along. Bruce is coming along fairly well. And it's been a while since I've had kind of just a nice kind of sit, paint, and talk. And chat. So, hey, let me know down in the comments. What are you working on? What are your projects of choice right now these days? So, said I'm kind of in a shark painting mood. Just enjoying, again, reliving a bit of my fun in my childhood with Jaws and just having some fun with this particular model. Which is good, because the next shark that I'm doing is the Brine Thrall from Steamforged Games. And that model will be a little bit trickier to paint. I have to figure out how I want to do it. It's a cool model. I'll post a image of it up here, but it's a very cool model, and I do like it a whole lot. The thing that's got me maybe a little worried is just figuring out what's my color scheme with it. Because it is such a neat model, but it has so many details to it that I do kind of worry about it. How it's going to look. So with this, I've kind of increased the amount of water I had on my brush. And I'm just coming in, trying to hit just some very, very thin layers. I don't want to necessarily get rid of the texture work that I've done, but just trying to kind of glaze in. A little bit more, as I said, of a highlight color to parts of him. Because he's jumping out, he's catching the sun. There's got to be some spots that need to be a little bit more highlighted. All right? And that's what I'm trying to kind of do in here. It's just kind of, as I said, highlight it in. Get a little bit heavy in a couple of spots. I do kind of use the finger technique. I'm sure the professional model painters don't have to do that, but I sometimes do. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to come back in now with my super highlight, that really light color. I'm actually going to switch out my brushes to one that's a little bit finer point, because I now want to come in again along these gill lines. And I want to highlight it but very, very lightly. I just kind of want to help that edge stick out. I'm struggling here a little bit with it. Just trying to get my brush in a spot so my brush control can match what it is I want to do. There we go. So with this highlight, I'm trying to be as small as I can. The dorsal, giving that kind of that same little bit of an edge highlight, wanting it to just stick out a little bit more. Trying to keep it really kind of light. I want to make sure I get the nose, and even on, he's not that he's got necessarily eyebrows, but around his eyes, because those are going to be important. I do want to hit just a little bit. Again, just kind of tapping it in a little bit more than anything. Just trying to make it look, as I said, textured. And I will admit, and I'm kind of debating, I might try to fix it a little bit here. On the gills, I went a little too heavy solid line. So in places like that, where I've oopsied, the great news is I still have kind of my darker, my mid-tone kind of. I'm just going to kind of come in, and even with the gills, where, as I said, I think I got a little too strict lined, I'm going to kind of come back in, and we're just going to try that again. I'm just going to bring in my mid-tone color, erase that kind of highlight mistake. We'll try it again. And that's the thing about painting. I made a mistake. I didn't like it. And really what it is here on like these gills, like this one, you can see it get really thick. Up here where I kept my hash, or kept my brush to more of a hash mark, it looks a whole lot better and is more what I was going for. Unfortunately, I just kind of had to over experiment some of the other before I found the way I wanted to do it. And that's the thing. You're gonna have that happen where you're working on a model and you think you know what you're doing, and you think you got, like, here's how exactly I'm gonna do this. And then you get in there and you try to do it, and you realize, nope, I am totally bombing this. And that's okay. Because at some point you're going to be working on it and you're going to go, oh, there. That's what I'm aiming for. That's what we're going for. Otherwise, I think we're looking really, really pretty good. I don't know if the light's picking it up, but I got a really nice kind of blend going on right in here. I'm really happy with it. It's not too much, but it feels like it fits. All right, Bruce is coming along. Oh my gosh, where did that hour go? And I know that I have a little bit more time here, but man, hours fly by when you're sitting and you get in the zone of painting. It's amazing how much time can quickly go by. let's try to do some just highlighting of the mouth. I'm going to switch over to Brains Pink. And let's see if we can't kind of bring this down. And I'm mixing it right into the pink I just was using, the Monster Mall. Because again, I don't want to make it too drastic of a shade. I put way too much water in there. There it is, having an off night. It'll be okay. So here's an interesting one. I use what would be considered a dry palette. I don't use a wet palette. And I know that a lot of professional painters use wet palettes. And trust me, I get it. They are they can be a fantastic tool. I totally think that there's some real cool benefits of using a wet palette. I don't use one, and I don't use one just because I haven't had the time to play around with it and learn it. Because I think that if you're going to use a wet palette, I think you have to accept that there are certain there are certain ways that you have to do things, and you will paint, I think, differently because of said wet palette. And it's just a learning thing, right? I've never done it. I've never used it before. I'd have to figure out how to get my paints to the right consistency to keep it up. And the interesting thing, I learned this actually on a different podcast. You know, the goal of a wet palette is not necessarily to keep your pets. Shouldn't keep your pets wet. It's not to keep your paints wet. It's to actually keep them cool and kind of help with some of the evaporation and some of that, which I thought was quite interesting. So I'm liking this color a lot, and I'm trying my best to just kind of bring it in, avoid some of the recesses and such where I definitely want that shadow color to exist. But I do realize that I'm probably going to highlight this thing way up and then probably kind of come in and try and tone it back a bit. Or at least kind of do some sort of wash or shade with it. So I don't mind the kind of heavy of it at this time. If I were to keep the mini on the cam, the color I'm using now, much more in tuned to, or closer to kind of a shark tone to it. So that's good. That's what I want. And I will probably do a lot of the teeth and such last on this big guy. And I say that because I think that it's going to just painting all of this interior and painting it in a way that I'm happy with. It's going to just require so much, I think, to get it right that my best bet is to come back in and paint the teeth a little bit later. Anything that's high, try and leave some of the cracks and crevices, maybe a little bit more of that original color, but I don't mind if some of it ends a bit wiped out. As I said, it was kind of the wrong color, and it'll work fine as a shade and a shadow, but it's a little too pink. One of the things I've been pondering with this thing, though, is do I paint a little bit of gore with him? I don't really want to, but I could see a case for it. So what do you guys think? Do I need to, as I'm progressing with this guy, do I need to hit him with a little bit of red? You know, maybe he's chomped into something. Hard to say. I mean, it is a great white, and great whites do jump up for, seals and such. I'm going to add a little bit of this ashen rose color I got, which is a little bit closer to white, and we'll do one more quick little highlight in some places, and then we'll probably call it a night. I'm not quite as far along with this guy as I thought I would be. That's painting, and truthfully, one thing I will say, and this is why I do my videos this way, and not like those that the vast majority who turn out just amazing stuff all the time. I mean, I could do in a 2-week span, I really do think I could. My paint's not quite dry enough there. Let's go up here. I keep grabbing you there. In a 2-week time, could I finish a project? Sure. I could come in every 2 weeks and probably have something painted. And that would mean then these videos would be much more of a here's the script of what I did. It'd be very much I painted this model. Here's how I did it. Roll. And there's nothing wrong with those videos. I watch plenty of videos like that. My, I guess, only downside to that, and it's a side that I think some of us need to remember, because I think it's a thing that can easily discourage us in the hobby. You watch some of these guys who their whole, day job, in a sense, is making YouTube content. And what do? They have, a whole week to crack out a video, which means that they can, take a day or two to paint a model, get it perfect, or at least to the standard or project that they're doing, and then basically write up, hey, here's how we did it, and show you. And you can see, here's the end product, here's their fantastic work. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I sometimes think that it gives painters this crazy expectation of what we can achieve. We tend to then think, oh gosh, I should be painting a squad of Space Marines every week. And the truth is, most of us just don't have that kind of time to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But, most of us maybe have day jobs. We may have life commitments. I myself, I have 3 kids. They have school, they have daycare. I am basically their bus in the morning. So I'm the one gets up, takes them to school. I got to make sure that they're fed. There's all sorts of those sorts of commitments that keep us from getting down to our hobbies all the time. And again, we all sit and we watch these people do these things and think, gosh, I should be doing more. Why can't I keep up with that? And so I guess that's part of why I look at something like this and what I do on this channel. And I kind of look at it as, it's not about finishing a project every week for me, or every 2 weeks when I put this out. I can't keep up that workload. So I paint at the speed of hobby, and we get done what we get done. And tonight I got a lot done on Bruce. I'm going to go back in here quick and touch up my highlights on the gills. But that's pretty much then where I'll stop, and I won't make you watch me repaint that mistake again. But the thing that I want you to take away from this, not that I'm assigning homework, that was past Howard, I was a teacher and no homework and all that, is I paint at the speed of hobby. I paint at when I have the time, when I can get down here, and when I can spend time with it. I add an extra layer of difficulty to that by recording it in this fashion. And yes, I could probably do it differently, but I'd maybe do it this way so that you can look at it and go, you know, I watched this Howard guy, and man, he hasn't really finished a project on his channel. I mean, I'm painting this. October's coming up. Back to October. Maybe I'll finish the models I started last October that are sitting up here, like this guy, who are near done. But it's just the way that this hobby works, and it's just that. So, what I would tell you all is, if you come to this channel, you're seeing me hobby as fast as I hobby. I get done what I get done, and hopefully you feel that you can hobby at your own speed, and that if you're not finishing projects every week, that's okay. It's okay to just sit back and enjoy it. And I'm getting a little philosophical because it's been a long weekend. And I know it's Labor Day weekend, but I've had sick kids, and it's been a little rough. But I appreciate you, if you made it this far, making it this far. For those who have watched, I appreciate you giving this video a chance. And for those who have subscribed, I thank you even more for saying, hey, I want more of this. And with that, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to, as I said, finish some highlights and go to bed so I can get up and deal with sick kids tomorrow. Joys of parenthood, but it's all part of the game. It's all part of the fun. And so with that, I know I should probably say, hey, hit the like, subscribe button, and all those professional YouTube things, but I'll do this one more time. And hopefully we will catch all of you back down here in the cave again next time. Good night, everybody.